DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. Founded by the first family of Florida State Coffee and based in Pensacola, Florida, DeLuna Coffee is the driving passion of the Lemmix family. Ed, his wife Courtney, and their son Brett. Their tailgating spot out front of the Unconquered statue is their own slice of paradise. But the real delight is DeLuna's blend of Kona, Maui, Kenya, Colombian, and Brazilian beans that they call their liquid gold brew. In fact, they called it Paradise. Try it or one of their 24 blends and get a discount when you use the promo code WARCHANT15. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
wake up, wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
and this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hutchavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee, DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. You know the promo code WARCHANT15. I think there's another promo code. Go to DeLunaCoffee.com. Buy one, get one free. When it comes to the K-Cups, Red, White, and Brew, Fat Albert, and Voodoo. Voodoo's Irish O'Fell's favorite, so if Ira likes it, you know it's real good. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Promo code is WarChant30. All of you on YouTube, thank you. Hit the thumbs up button, please. Hit the like. We would appreciate it. Everybody else, ask your friend, hey, man, did you hear what Corey said the other day on Wake Up Warchant? And if they're like, nah, man, I didn't even know they were doing shows anymore. I haven't seen a new show come over in a month. Be like, oh, you must have an Apple or iOS device. Go on the podcast app and search for Wake Up Warchant. You'll see two feeds. One has the DeLuna Coffee logo on it. Tap on that one and subscribe. You'll be good to go. Do that for me. I'd appreciate that. Corey, how are you, man?
I'm good, buddy. What a great intro.
Trying, man. I want to go into these. I think I'm going to start doing these things called the Lion's Den. These like 10 to 15 minute monologues where I just talk about life, my life particularly, geopolitics, things of that nature. I don't think I'm going to do it with you. I don't want to take up your day. Plus, I know you'll interrupt me and ruin me on my flow. I'm trying to work through them. But here's like one of the first ones I want to go with, Corey. If you want to buckle up for a minute, it's not going to be 10 to 15 minutes. It's going to be like 3 minutes, maybe not even 3 minutes. And then we're going to do all Renegade Express. Talk about spring football infrastructure deal. You cool with that?
Yeah, I mean, look, if it starts to wander a little bit too much, or if I get bored, I might interrupt you. But let's see how it goes. Let's see what we're doing here.
Well, it's gonna be like this. This is gonna be a to be continued. It's really not that big of a deal. But you're gonna have to remind yourself, or maybe somebody in Renegade Express will be like, oh, hey, Aslan, you told us that you're gonna follow up on this story. What's the deal? You know the movie Casino, Corey? You've seen Casino. You're a cinephile, right?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yep.
It's a long, epic movie. I think it's like 2.5 hours. It's a long freaking movie. And I've always kind of found the way they wrapped up the end of it really poignant. Like, the conclusion of the movie is pretty cool, how it shows you the fate of everybody, all the characters. But then, like, the main character, Robert De Niro, who's obviously he's the main character, all this drama surrounding him throughout his entire character arc of that movie, it ends, like, it's buttoned up so fast. It's like a 30-second kind of scene where it's like, he's lived this whole glitz and glamour life in Las Vegas, right? And he says something really poignant at the end about, at the end of the day, I can pick winners or something like that. He basically, goes back to what he was doing and finds, I guess, happiness and solace in that. That is a small microcosm of what my life has been like the last 30 days. You're probably all wondering, what the hell are you talking about, Aslan? Part 2, maybe in another week or two, I'll be able to elaborate on it. But right now, I just think that I was at a point, Corey, where maybe I was chasing some stuff that I shouldn't have chased, and I should have just kind of recognized my station in life and been like, I'm good with this. So that's all I got.
Are you going to propose to someone?
Ponies? What's that?
Are you going to propose to someone?
No. It's not. It's not about romantic. Not about my romantic life is just. I've lost it. It's over. I don't know.
Disaster. Well, look, man.
It's just. I don't know. I'm in my head right now. I'm all domed up right now. Like, I don't know whether to be IDGAF Aslan. I don't give a blank Aslan. I don't know if I should be. I've done the whole 180 thing where I'm ultra sincere and just like, how's your day been? Awesome. What a great victory for you. I'm so happy for you. You're amazing. Awesome.
That doesn't sound sincere at all.
Well, I do it in a sincere way. I just don't know where to go right now, man. I got to step away. I got to get out of the game. I got to be like Roberto. Maybe I need to go golf for a while.
Yeah.
And then see if I can rediscover my golden leg.
Well, like Jordan, like Michael Jordan took a year and a half off to play baseball and distract himself, and then went back to basketball and was pretty good. I'm not comparing you to I'm not saying you're the Michael Jordan of dating, but still, you've had some wins. So yeah, man, you just take a year off like you've done, really, basically, and you'll get back in it. You'll be fine.
Thank you, Corey. I appreciate you, man. Well, before we get to the Renegade Express, there was a recruit that committed on Thursday. His name is Brian Courtney. He is out of the state of Virginia. When I first saw it, I'm like, "Ooh, look at them going in the transfer portal. Is this an offensive lineman?" But he's a high school prospect, plays quarterback, but his future at Florida State is the tight end, 3-back position in the Norvell Dillingham offense. Currently doesn't have any stars, but that'll probably change here shortly. He'll probably be, I'm guessing, a 3-star. That kind of seems to be the cachet a program like Florida State has when a guy doesn't have anything next to his name and they commit to Florida State. It's like, oh, well, he must be at least a 3-star. And if everybody's like, oh, yeah, he's a 3-star. But, yeah, I don't even think Alabama gets. Maybe Alabama, if you're a no-star and you commit to Alabama, maybe you get 4 stars, but everybody else,
I think you get bumped up to 4 right away. I will say, when it comes to stars, and I'm certainly not saying, hey, Florida State, go recruit a bunch of guys with literally nothing next to their name. I have to imagine the people that do these rankings, it's had to have been really hard this past year. Some of these kids didn't even play a football season. I don't know if Virginia played football or not, but there are no camps. There have been no camps to go evaluate, or very few, I should say, and very few games. So I do feel like maybe this has been – and Papuch just talked about that on Tuesday, about how looking back at this past recruiting class, 2 or 3 years down the road, it's going to be really interesting to see how people did. Because everything was on Zoom, and you couldn't even see them in person. And I wonder how much that affects, like, rivals' recruiting rankings when some of these kids didn't even play a game last year. Or if they did, they played a very few. And they weren't able to go to camps.
Yeah, man, I think didn't he even say that they signed 3 defensive ends he didn't see any of them in person. So it's
he said I did. Yeah, he's like, I didn't meet any of the 3 defensive ends we signed in person last year. Yeah. Little different this year.
Yeah, but we'll give him benefit of the doubt. It's a tight end. We'll see how it all goes. Again, Brian Courtney, check it out, Premium Recruiting Board. I think Michael Langston's got a Q&A with him. He was able to catch up with him and get some of his thoughts. So do go over to the website, promo code WARCHANT30. Let's get to the questions. We're going to Primetime 92, who is I think our Gen Zer, or maybe the closest thing we have to a Gen Z regular. By the way, if you're out there, young folks, like if you're in your teens still, or maybe not teens, it's only really 18 or 19 that's probably listening. If you're in your early 20s, if you're in college, so if you're undergrad, let me know. Also, I still think we're doing that whole thing where you get a whole annual membership for $12 if you're in college. Just email support@warchant.com from your college email address. So it needs to be fsu.edu or harvard.edu to get that promo. So,
like Facebook was.
Yes. Yeah. Way to go, Zuck. Way to jump the shark, Bow. So Primetime 92 is
how crazy is that, by the way? I mean, when was Facebook? Was it 15 years ago, you'd say? 14 or 15 years ago that he created that?
I think 2004, because I was still in college, and I remember I think it was like 2004 when it started kind of bubbling down in Tallahassee.
But like the whole purpose of it at the beginning was it's going to be exclusive. It's going to be just for college kids. You have to have an EDU in your email address, and it's going to be at like these 5 schools like Harvard, Stanford, and then obviously the plan was to branch out, and it was going to be the cool website with all the college kids, and that's where they went and hung out. And now look at Facebook.
Oh man.
It's pictures of grandkids and crazy conspiracy theories. It's just crazy that in 15 years it's a completely different platform. Do college kids even go on it at all? I don't know that Brady even knows what Facebook is.
Yeah, it's not, man. It's crazy how it swung. Yeah, I don't think
those baby boomers, man. Those baby boomers just swooped in and said, "This is us. Yeah. This is Face Boomer." Nice. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Primetime 92's question is life advice related, so we'll save it towards the end. Although he was the first in line, so I feel a little bit bad, but I don't know. Do you want to go with it now, or do you want to save it till the end?
No, we'll hold it. Let's save it. Let's get to a little bit of sports.
All right, let's go to XDQ004. Wake up! After looking at the spring game, I am very encouraged about our prospects for this season. I believe that we will be improved on both sides of the ball. I expect big contributions from our players, not yet on campus. Well, that's a very optimistic, rosy outlook.
Yeah.
My question this week is for you guys to give me your way too early 10 most important players for the 2021 Noles. Be a lunatic, be on the warpath of Warchant, and go Noles.
How about we do 5 each?
Okay. Yeah.
You go first.
Okay. Man. All right, Jermaine Johnson. Or
Yep.
we should see if we can agree on 5. Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah.
Jordan Travis.
Sure.
And Mackenzie Milton. Am I doing the whole court?
I know we don't like doing it, but
doing-
there's a chance you could make that claim for sure.
Bob Cooper and Jarian Jones. That's all I got.
All right. I don't know
I
if
don't
I'd go that route, but I'm going to say Travis Jay is one of them.
Okay.
I think if you have a playmaking safety, that could really help, and I think that guy's you don't have too many NFL type body prospect guys on that defense. He's one of them. So I'm going to throw him in there. I think Keir Thomas is another one. If
Gosh, you
Jermaine
love some
Johnson-
Keir Thomas. I love it.
Man,
I love
I'm
how
telling you, man.
I love how we're so far apart on that. It's going to be really fun to revisit it.
I just think, I think he has a chance to be a big time contributor if he's healthy, obviously. And on offense, I'm going to throw, I guess Parchment, man. I guess I'm just going to go the whole transfer portal with mine. I'll go, even Jordan Travis is a transfer. So yeah, I think Parchment. I think you have to have a receiver that you can count on to be a number one. That can be your 6 catches for 88 yards every game, and that maybe he's that guy. So those are my names there.
All right.
There's a lot of them though, man. Honestly, when you're 3-6, you need a bunch of dudes to play well to get to 7 or 8 wins. So there's 20 to 25 dudes that are really, really important. But yeah, I'd say Jermaine Johnson and whoever the quarterback is are probably the 2 most important.
So I've always been trying to be like Shanna because of her witty sort of solicitations on Facebook for questions for Seminole headlines back in the golden age of Seminole
Right.
headlines.
Well, hey, now that implies that it's past.
As I was saying, I'm kidding. I miss it. Maybe that's why I'm so miserable. I haven't listened to Seminole headlines in 3 years. I need more of that in my life.
Why would you? Could you really listen to me talk for another 2 hours a week?
I mean, yeah, because they don't let you talk enough. So it's
Well,
great.
no, that's true. That's true.
It's like, all right, well then,
that's why it's like running in a field when I'm with you. Like on this show, I just get to sprint free like a horse, just running to the horizon.
take that restrictor plate off, you big guy. So what I asked on here, to try to ask a couple questions to solicit some, conversation. And my whole thing was the spring game has brought out a lot of, we're moving in the right direction chatter. What have you seen to corroborate this? And XDQ says that, I'm very encouraged about our prospects for the season. I believe will be improved on both sides of the ball after looking at the spring game. What do you think people saw, Corey? And I think a lot of it's listening to the coaches and listening and reading what you and Ira write in your observations. But in terms of like the spring game, if you're a semi-casual Florida State fan, which I don't know that's even really a bad term, it's a casual Florida State fan. You're subscribed to Warchant, but you only come on like once every week or so. What do you think people saw in the spring game that was like, all right, yeah, I'm about it? I'm not saying that it was a bad spring game, but what do you think people saw that was like, yeah, all right, cool, yeah, but we'll be in a bowl game. I think we'll make a bowl game with this team.
I think you could say the 3 or 4 really good throws that Milton made, special throws. At least 3 of them they're just special throws. You could say that for sure. I would say, man, just looking back at the defense again, they gave up some plays, but they're there. They competed. Jermaine Johnson, number 11, that's another reason. But I do think that when you look at the passes that were completed, they weren't against air. There were defensive backs that were right there competing. They also hit the ball. Sorry, I'm watching a Braves game. They also hit people pretty hard. And I think that matters too. I think all that matters. I think that they looked different. They looked a little more physical in the way they tackled, the way they pursued the ball. And not every throw was an easy completion like it was seemingly all last season. To me, if you're encouraged by what you saw in the spring game, I think it's the defense that did it, sprinkled in with a couple of those Mackenzie Milton throws.
If you and Brady had that like body swap, like Freaky Friday or whatever, like Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis, like mom and daughter switch roles, like do you think Ronald Acuna would be your would probably be your favorite player, and it would be the gold standard. Like he would be your Dion if you were Brady.
Yeah, or Trey Young too. I mean, it's cool to have somebody like that in your town too. These two guys, but yeah, I would definitely think Acuna. It's crazy how good he is this year. How good he's been. It's been pretty remarkable. This is it's just awesome. I've never seen. The only other thing I can equate it to when it comes to the Braves is Gary Sheffield when he played for the Braves. I think it was just 1 year, and he was just. I mean, good grief, he was an incredible hitter. Really for the whole season, and that's the only thing. That's who I'd equate Acuna to, with the way he's hitting the ball right now. It's crazy.
What about
but
Terry
yes,
Pendleton?
it would be Acuna probably.
Terry Pendleton gets no love.
It was different. Pendleton
Power.
wasn't like he didn't have this kind of power. The ball didn't jump off his bat like this. I mean, this is just remarkable what Acuna's doing. Plus, he's like the fastest guy in the league.
Yeah.
We were at the game on Monday night. He has a triple because he's Ronald Acuna. He just decides to triple down the line. And then the very next guy hits a pop-up, 15, it's barely on the outfield grass. The second baseman catches it, backing up because he had to run to it, but he's probably 10 feet on the outfield grass, and Acuna tags up and scores. Against a major league second baseman. It's incredible, the combination of power and speed. But yes, I would think it would be Acuna.
Next question, GSO Noel. Guys, great to hear that the spring game went as good as could be expected from the weather to the recruits doing things together and the actual game. My first question is on quarterbacks. I'm having a hard time understanding, based on the comments on the show the past few weeks about both of these guys, along with the praise that Travis received from the coaching staff, how there is not a significant gap in favor of Jordan Travis. Do we think 3 series on Saturday close the gap because both played well? That's a really good question. I'm confused too, GSO, and also let's ask Corey that then, Corey.
I think, are we talking about from our perspective or from the coach's perspective?
Well, I guess from the coaches, what we're hearing is there isn't a gap. So
I don't think we've heard that. They're never going to say, why would they come out and say, yeah, he's a clear-cut starter right now? But that doesn't mean that they don't think that Jordan Travis is right now in middle of April is the starting quarterback. I don't think they've said that. I don't think they would. If we got Norvell or Dillingham over to your new house when that happens for a couple of beers, I don't think they'd say, yeah, these guys are dead even.
Right.
I think the thought process though with the narrative of Mackenzie Milton is, okay, he finally looked in our eyes. He looked a little better in the last few practices, but in our eyes, we saw a glimpse of the dude from Central Florida. And that was enough for fans and media to maybe be excited that, okay, he started to find it at the end of the month. And with 3 or 4 more months in this system, then he's ready for the preseason. It gives him a better chance to really compete for the job. But, and again, I just think it's better for Florida State. But again, me saying that I think that Milton closed the gap, or the fans saying that Milton might have closed the gap, that's just us talking, right? That doesn't mean that in the coach's eyes that he closed the gap or that it's dead even. They would just never tell us otherwise publicly, right?
Yeah, and I think, that's why I asked Kenny what I asked him, and, when he's like, everything's going according to plan, everything's being elevated because of Mackenzie. To me, that's the polite way of saying that, yeah, he's not ahead right now. The other guy is. But we appreciate what he's done. And
right. No, that's how I read it too. Like Jordan, but I think the thought process there is that Mackenzie Milton has made Jordan Travis better. And like he might have turned Jordan Travis in from a decent college quarterback to an all-conference type quarterback. I don't know. Not because just having to raise your level of competition to beat out this former All-American might have been what it took for Jordan Travis. And I think I've never gotten the impression with the way the coaches talk about these quarterbacks that they're even. I think Jordan Travis is clearly ahead, even after the spring game, but that does not mean that August 26th he's going to be clearly ahead. Maybe Milton makes leaps and bounds after that spring game because he gets more and more comfortable with the offense. I don't know. But I do know that Jordan Travis has looked the best in this spring, and I think Jordan Travis is a better quarterback than he was 4 months ago.
I would say, from what I had seen previous to the spring game, it wasn't as much that Jordan was looking really good as that I thought McKenzie did not look good at all, really. McKenzie just had one or two spurt plays within a 27-period practice. So it wasn't so much. It was one of those things where I think McKenzie was losing the job more so than it was Jordan winning the job. Like, Jordan looked good. Jordan looked more than adequate, but he did not look exceptional by any means to me in any of the practices. It's just that McKenzie Milton certainly did not look polished and comfortable at all. That's why I would say that, Jordan Travis is probably ahead on the card. But in the spring game, like those throws that Corey referenced, man, those are real situation replicating. That's going to happen a lot more in a game than it's going to be Jordan rolling all the way to the sideline and firing it across his body onto the opposite hash and completing it. Like, Jordan's probably going to do one of those plays every game. He's going to do something crazy where it's like, that's not fair. But I think McKenzie Milton has a more consistent, replicable, if that's a word, kind of practical skill set for the way the quarterback plays.
Well, and also we have to remember that, like, what we see in practice, we're not privy to what, Dillingham might have thought McKenzie Milton, or Travis for that matter, made a great read and a great throw, and the receiver wasn't where he was supposed to be. That happens a lot in those, like, when they're even doing it on air, and one of those guys will throw a ball, and I'm like, yeah, that was kind of a little bit behind him, not great. And Dillingham's going, great throw, perfect throw. So we don't know exactly what they're looking for, and the reason I bring that up is because in the spring game, Milton threw a ball, I think it was to Malik McClain. Yeah, it was, down the sideline, where it looked like he threw it short and like he just underthrew him by like 6 yards. It looked like a horrible throw down the right sideline. I think it was in the second quarter. As far as that goes. Right. I think it was in the second quarter. And yeah, I think that what happened was afterwards, I'm like, man, that didn't look like a good throw at all. That was, ugh. And then Norvell is talking to Norvell makes a point of going over to McClain right away and talking to him. So that led me to believe, okay, Milton put it right where he was supposed to, and the freshman receiver that's supposed to be in high school ran the wrong route or didn't do what he was supposed to do. And so that's where our evaluations, I agree with you that Milton was not impressive at all. But maybe there's other things that go into playing quarterback as far as reading it quickly, deciphering it quickly, all that maybe he was doing better than it looked.
Okay.
And we just don't know because we're not privy to those quarterback position room meetings and everything. That said, I'm not stumping for McKenzie Milton at all. I'm a big Jordan Travis fan. Shout out to his brother Devin, who apparently is going to be in the Braves organization. That's really cool. I think Ira and I are actually going to be speaking to him later today.
Nice.
For a little Warchant exclusive. Devin, that is. So that's really neat, man. Again, one of my all-time favorite people to cover. So anyway, just wanted to give that shout out there. But I'm a Jordan Travis fan. I'm not stumping for McKenzie Milton. But I don't think just because Travis Milton didn't look good in the spring doesn't mean he can't be good in August. Right. And September when it really matters.
Yeah, if this was the beginning of what he's going to become, like if what we saw that Saturday, if that's the beginning of what he's going to become in this offense, I think McKenzie Milton will be the starting quarterback for this team. I just don't know if it's going to be, something he's going to be able to continue to build off of, because I still think Jordan Travis has only scratched the surface of his
Were you in the Xavier Lee or the Drew Weatherford?
Oh, Xavier Lee. Yeah.
You were X Lee?
Absolutely, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm a fan of the disenfranchised. My second question is around the basketball team, GSO Noel says. It is too bad that all these guys are leaving, but the portal is full of players. Do you think Hamilton can do what Norvell did? And is anyone on our staff taking a look at the options?
In the transfer portal, he's asking?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, they're not like, oh, we're good. I mean, they apparently they've lost. Balsh is gone. MJ's gone. Scotty's gone. Raekwon's probably gone. Calhoun, I feel like he'll come back, but you never know. So yeah, no, they're definitely looking, and they're good pieces out there. It's always about fit, but every day there's some dude that averaged 14 points a game in a major school throwing his name into the portal. I know I'm an old man and I'm kind of set my ways and get off my lawn, but this is not good for the sport. I'm not saying they shouldn't do it, but college basketball has a hard enough time with the differences between it and the NBA and the viewership and everything else that's going on with college basketball. It's getting farther and farther away from college football as a moneymaker and just interest in the country. And, man, this isn't helping. Like, not just guys leaving early when they probably shouldn't, but dude, I mean, you have to recruit your kids every year. They're like, nah, I know I'm averaging 12 points a game for the number 9 team in the country, but I'm out. I'm done. Mac McClung, the kid from Georgetown, transferred to Texas Tech, was their leading scorer, and is in the portal again.
Yeah.
I know his coach left, but good. Is he going to go back to Georgetown? Like, it's every day there's 100 other kids in there, and I don't know, man. I know you can't. It's a free market, I guess. Coaches are allowed to leave, but man, this is not good for the sport. Good for the players, sure, but as a fan, as a selfish fan, not great for the sport. That said, they already got the kid from Houston, who still is probably the best player on the board if you add up even all the guys from the last couple months that have put their name in the portal. Certainly one of the top 5 players. And yes, I think they're looking for front court help, immediate front court help. And I can't imagine they won't get someone here in the next few weeks.
Maybe Walker Kessler will leave Auburn. Maybe
is that where he went? He went to Auburn?
Yeah.
Oh, he leaves in North Carolina for Auburn. What are we doing? Anyway.
Welcome to the Terror Dome. All right, let's keep it hoops related. Let's keep it round ball. Old Dad's a Nole. Wake up! You'll have plenty of chances on here to talk about quarterbacks and defense, so I will stray for a moment. Well, I did not get to cash my 26-1 ticket on the Noles, but how about my 6.5-1 chalk ticket on those hot Baylor Bears? With the rise in our hoops program and the downward dip in many others, I truly believe Coach Hamilton has a true chance at a championship in the next 5 years, even with such a revolving door of talent. It sure is a good place to be finally after believing Pat Kennedy was leading us back there, but did not. Think that, Corey? 5 years? True chance.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, not this year, last year, he had as good a chance as anyone, I think. This year, we'll see how the roster shapes up, who we can get in the portal, how quickly, Mills and Matthew Cleveland and those guys adjust. But there won't be too many teams more talented than Florida State. Man, it would have helped to have Raekwon Gray back. But yeah, I think this last window for Leonard, I mean, when this contract runs out, he'll be pushing 80. I think that will probably be the end. But yes, where this program is right now, they're a perennial Sweet 16 team. There's only 2 other programs that have been to the Sweet 16 3 years in a row, like Florida State, and it's Gonzaga and Michigan. So you keep giving yourself at bats in the Sweet 16. Eventually, you'll break through to a Final Four, and you got a chance to win national title. And they were really close, whenever that was, 3 or 4 years ago. They were a bucket away from getting to the Final Four. Not only getting to the Final Four, but playing Loyola Chicago in the Final Four. So that close, probably to the national championship game. So yeah, I think they got a chance here in the next 4 or 5 years to break through.
So that's
It takes some luck. It takes some talent and it takes some luck.
So that's a real thing. No other program except Gonzaga and Michigan has gone to 3 Sweet 16s in a row. Like, not even. What about UCLA? They won all those national championships.
No, I'm talking about. Active programs.
Oh, because somebody mentioned that. Now, I saw this on the message boards too, and they said something about the broadcast team poo-pooed on it, and I'm like, well, that's not even a real thing. I mean, I'm surely.
No, yeah, UCLA was doing it. Yeah. UCLA won like 9 championships in a row. But no, for the active
last 20
programs.
years or something?
No, just current programs.
Oh, okay.
There's 3 that have been to the Sweet 16 the last 4 years.
Like active
streaks right now.
I got you.
It's Gonzaga, Michigan, and Florida State.
Okay, all right.
Which is still, I mean, that's pretty remarkable.
That's great. Yeah, man.
That's
I'm
crazy.
all about it. Yeah. Second question from Old Dad's a Nole. If you guys have talked about this, let me apologize. If not, what are your thoughts on this Alabama-Georgia paying huge sums of money story? I mean, is every other program not named those 2 pushing the NCAA too hard to dive into this? I can't imagine what that would do to level college football back out some if there's fire with the smoke.
Is he talking about the Rush Probst?
I guess
comments that
probably, that
from
sounds probably
a few weeks ago, where he was talking to some Valdosta. I don't know what Probst is the head coach at Valdosta High School. He's very controversial and scandal has followed him all over the Southeast, but he's always won a ton of games at these schools in Alabama and Georgia. And I think he was talking. It was a recorded conversation with like the president of a TD class. I can't remember the exact story, but he was talking about how Alabama and Georgia were just, bags of cash to these kids essentially. And I mean,
everybody's doing it. Yeah, I don't think Ole Miss and Tennessee are trying to blow the whistle because they're doing things too. But I mean, we can dream a little dream and think that it's only them and they're the only ones that are going to get caught. But I don't think so. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I mean, look, man, to be honest with you, the NCAA doesn't want to catch them. That it's a lot of money for these schools and for these conferences. They don't want to be caught. They don't want... in reality, I guess they could strip scholarships. That's something they do. But, back in the 80s, when I was growing up on the cheating of the SEC, the rampant cheating of the SEC, it was legitimate, like, you're not going to be on TV and you don't get to go to a bowl game. Yeah. And back then, not being on TV was a pretty big deal. Well, college football, it's like, what are we doing to ourselves? Like Auburn in 1993, Florida and Auburn played a great game, and I think it was 93 or 94.
I think it was 93.
Nobody got to see unless you were in the stands because it wasn't allowed to be on TV. And college football was finally like, well, I feel like we're hurting ourselves with this. That we're trying to make money here, and we're having some of our cash cows. Sure, they cheat, but we want them to be on TV. Let's think of something else. Oh, let's vacate something. Let's come up with some let's vacate some wins. That way we can still make as much money as we ever want to make off these programs, but not necessarily hurt them financially, hurt us financially. I don't know what what are they going to put Alabama on probation? Sure, they might. I can't imagine that. It did not get legs, and I think part of that, though, is who the messenger was there. That guy's embroiled. He's embroiled in controversy right now. His team was just put on probation. I didn't know Georgia did that. The Georgia High School Association put Valdosta on probation and gave them a postseason ban for improper recruiting and other stuff. This happened like 3 days ago. I didn't even know you could do that, but I didn't know that was a possibility, but apparently it is, and Valdosta's on probation. So, Probst, I think that has something to do with it too, the person that was making the claims.
This comes from the Chattanooga Times Free Press. The most exciting Southeastern Conference football game of the 1993 season was Auburn's 38-35 upset of Florida, which was witnessed by 85,214 fans inside Jordan-Hare Stadium. Not a soul outside the stadium saw it. The Tigers were banned from television by the NCAA as a result of sanctions stemming from the Pat Dye regime. So,
you think ESPN might have gone to them maybe mid-90s and be like, what is this stupid-ass rule about not being on TV when you're on probation? How is that helping anybody? Y'all making money from that? Does that seem like a smart thing to do? And like, you know what? You're right. There is a lot of money to be made on these TV games and these TV contracts. That's pretty dumb. Let's get the red ink out and slash through that as a punishment for a team that cheats. And they do not punish like that anymore.
I remember but then again, that's like what, apparently that's why Ole Miss, although Ole Miss fell apart because of Laramie Tunsil and that whole gas mask bong draft night thing. But that was the thing. It's like some teams are allowed to do it. People don't get as upset, I guess. Like everybody was clutching their pearls over Ole Miss when like Hugh Freeze, it's like they're not allowed to do that. Like your bottom tier SEC school, stay there, know your lane, embrace it. Like don't come after our guys. Like that was the whole thing. Everybody's like, who does Ole Miss think they are? And they got burnt because they don't have the proper infrastructure around them to insulate themselves. All these other ones, Alabama, the networks, they do.
Yeah, there was a really good. Was it Saturday Down South or maybe Deadspin before it went under? Somebody wrote a really interesting story, and who knows? It was all about the Bagman story and how it's done in
Bleacher
the SEC.
Report. Yeah, don't
was
give
it
Saturday
Bleacher
Down
Report?
South any,
and look, it had no names associated with it all. It was somebody that was talking to an anonymous bagman in the SEC. So take that for what it's worth. I don't know who wrote the story. I guess I'll just blindly trust that they wouldn't
Godfrey. It's Stephen Godfrey.
Oh, he wouldn't. Yeah. I don't think he would just blindly make stuff up. So that being said, it's a really interesting story if you want to Google it about how stuff like that gets done. All
right, let's go to Mark, Matt AMCZ. Wake up! I'm not sure if the pitmaster, Chris from Perry, Georgia, weighed in on this, but to answer Corey's question from a few weeks ago, the big green egg is good. I had one. Lost it in my divorce 8 years ago. LOL, all caps, he puts in there. But it's kind of for amateurs who want to smoke. I have a Hasty Bake now, which is made in Tulsa, and it is legit. Yeah, Chris said it's fine. You like green people don't look down on big green egg. I thought they would. I thought the pros would. It's like tracing, like don't come in front of a bunch of artists with like something you traced. It's like, it doesn't take skill, but yeah, I guess apparently it's they're not as snobbish as I thought. They're not as elitist as I thought in the
which is
meat
good,
smoking community.
If you're a pit master, it's like, man, whatever works and tastes good, be excited about it. There's always advances in technology. I don't know the technology behind the big green egg, but I know my buddies that have them and they cook stuff on them are really darn tasty, and they swear by them. But I wonder what you can't share the big green egg in a divorce settlement. You can't like wheel it to the other person's backyard every couple weeks. That's a tough loss there.
They're heavy. Yeah, they're heavy. That's crazy. I wonder if it was like out of spite, or maybe she was the one that did most of the smoking. But that's neither here nor there. I wonder if you're allowed to use it in competition, though. That's one thing. I wonder, or you have to only use like a.
I don't think you should be. Yeah, I think you should have to use one of those old '70s grills.
Those barrels, this big old black barrel with like a chimney on it.
Yeah, man,
whatever.
You shouldn't. Yeah, I don't think you should be allowed to use a big green egg in a competition.
All right, there you go. We just made the rules. Anyways, if you guys could each ask Mike Norvell a question in a press conference that he would answer straight up with no coach speak, what would it be? Go Noles and keep bringing it. # quarterback competition.
I feel like Aslan, you just ask what you always ask. Oh, but he does. Yeah, you're worried about the answer, not. I don't know, Aslan. What do you got? What are you thinking? I mean, probably the quarterback, right? Right now, it seems like unless you wanted to get really big picture and philosophical about it.
Or maybe I'd ask him something like the Marvin thing, like Like, did you not want to apologize? And one of your friends say that you should apologize? Probably something like that. But I wouldn't ask that in a press conference. That would be like a round of beer. But yeah, in a press conference, so it'd have to be like a straight up, pretty much football related question that's relevant to this team with these players on it. I would just be like, is this the worst wide receiving core you've ever coached?
Yeah. And he has to give you an honest answer. Yeah, that's a good one. I'll go with that one too. I don't like piggybacking off you. That seems like a cop out, but that's a good one.
Or what about did you call anybody over the offseason to see if they wanted to coach on the defense?
That seems more like a beer question too.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But because then what if he says yeah, and then now you've created friction between him and Adam Fuller.
And everybody's like, cancel Aslan. I never liked that guy anyways.
Yeah.
God, Gene, get rid of him already.
Well, but you might want to edit that last part out.
Oh, now you're telling me how to do my job. Look at this.
Just saying, man. Just saying. I maybe want to edit that last sentence out.
GD, is that strong? I don't know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I have a buddy. When people say it around him, and he's a friend of mine, so he's not a teetotaler. But he gets genuinely offended when he hears it. I
apologize, everybody. I apologize. All right, Spartan Noles 71, who apparently, this is Ralph. This is Ralph out in Hawaii. Aloha, guys. How's it? Is how he put in there. My question is, has the Warchant Ohana, which I think Ohana means family, has the Warchant Ohana thought about doing a one-on-one with Gene Deckerhoff? The stories he must have. As always, mahalo. Go Warchant. Hoorah.
We haven't, but we probably should. I think people would watch that. I mean, I've done several stories about him since I've been in Tallahassee, so for the last 13 years. The last one I did one where he was getting ready to call like some milestone. I'm not trying to be dismissive about it. He's called so many games I couldn't even hazard a guess. Like his 400th football game or something. He was doing some milestone, and I did a Q&A with him then when I was at the paper. And then I wrote another one. I think I might have still been at the paper, or I might have been at Warchant, where he was he had lost so much weight and looked like a different person. So I wrote about that. So yeah, man. But he's been around since the late 70s, I think, mid to late 70s. Still records all his broadcasts and listens to them. which is incredible. That'd be like me going back and reading my columns. Screw that. I just give them to Ira and say, hey, fix it. But he still cares enough to do that. He has one of his sons, because how do you record broadcasts anymore? He has one of his sons recorded off the radio on a cassette tape.
What?
And then burns it to a CD. I think that's what happens. And then listens to it. I mean, you know what I mean? Like listens to his broadcast. So yeah, man, he's a fascinating dude that has seen a lot of stuff throughout his 50 years of doing this for Florida State. So yeah, that's a good idea. We should maybe that's something we'll do in the summer. We'll have what we're one of those Warchant one-on-ones with Deckerhoff. Very nice man, by the way. As nice as man as you hope he'd be. That's how nice he is.
Fire 3, 2, 1, fire cannons. Didn't you do a story on him having to call games during the pandemic remotely?
There it is. That's right. I knew I'd done something recently. Yeah, before the Miami game, I did one on him having to, like, how the mechanics, the machinations of them calling a game. Well, with the Buccaneers too, but also with Florida State on these remote games. And so yeah, he was really good on that too. And he really ripped Miami for what they do with the broadcasters. So that was fun.
Yeah, so that's your third. Yeah, it sounds like you're probably due for another Deckerhoff story, Corey. So let's keep it going.
But more of a retrospective. You know what I mean? Like going into whatever year this is for him, 47th. To just talk about the times, the good old days, the bad old days, all of it.
Like best press box food, worst press box conditions, coolest person he's ever met in an elevator going up to the press box. Yeah, things like that.
Man, think about that too, though, man. With Florida State 3 championships, 2 now with the Bucks. He's called Tom Brady, Jameis Winston, and a whole lot of nonsense in between with both programs, really, but especially the Bucks. But still, man, that's cool that he got himself another champion. I assume he gets a ring too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So he's got 5 rings.
Yeah, man. Bimini Bound. Wake up, fellas. It's been a while. It has, man. Hope the dad life is treating you well, Bimini Bound. Got a kid, and then he lost his friends. Come on, man. We're here for you still. I saw the renderings of the standalone facility on the Warchant video. The facility size and features look great. And I get that real estate and funding are limited, but it looks like it's being rushed to say, hey, we have one, as opposed to making sure it's done right. For example, the new building just attaches to the indoor practice facility with zero flow, different roofs, and exteriors. Would you agree there should be some attempt for those two buildings to flow and match? Or maybe wrap the building entirely around to hide Jimbo's IPF, LOL.
No, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, they don't need to retro design the IPF to make it design flow. Yeah, no, man.
Because
it looks great, man.
I was going to say, number one, if you're standing in front of the rendering, what the football facility will look like, you won't be able to see the IPF anyway. Yeah, you'll just see the big brick, lobby, this palace. But also, I've been to the Falcons one, and theirs doesn't match. I can't imagine. I think a lot of those pro teams, the IPF is going to be the IPF. It's a practice facility. They want the building to look great, and the practice facility just looks like the practice facility. But, just realistically speaking, I don't know. I just don't know that you have to do that to spend extra money for something like that, because it will not, in my opinion, it will not make one bit of difference for a recruit.
Right.
Like, I just don't think Johnny's going to be like, man, I like Florida State, but that IPF ain't matching the lobby that I walked into. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to...
Too much stucco. I like the brick. Why didn't they go all brick?
I'm not trying to mock the question, because that was something that I saw too. I was like, man, because that was really an initial thought I had. It's like, well, wow, why don't they just... Now you can make the IPF look like part of the facility as well, and it looks even bigger and more massive, and put some brick on there. That was my initial thought as well. And then I'm like, well, who's even going to see it unless you're driving down Pensacola? And it's functional. So it's the functionality of a facility. I think it looks cool, man. I like the fact that it's a football facility that's connected to everything that needs to be connected to, as far as, okay, it's raining, we're going to go in here. We're just going to walk from our locker room straight to the IPF. Nobody's getting wet. And the same thing when we're practicing normally, we're going to be on the outdoor. I mean, it's going to look like one big football compound. And I think that's pretty cool. I think they made the best of and I don't think we talked about this. We did the video on Wednesday. But yeah, I think they made the best of a pretty tough situation because of the way the campus is structured, geographically in that area where it's really hard to build stuff. And I think it's much better than I think it's better than renovating more. And I think it's much better than the plan they initially had of just building like this 6-story weird looking building right next to the practice facility. It looks more like a palace. I think they did about as well as they could with it.
I want to know the particular gentleman or woman that was responsible for mocking up that render. We're like, all right, well, how about we do this? Because the options were either renovate more, which I wish they could have done it. I guess there's logistical challenges of relocating people and doing construction in a facility that's also housing actual academic classes. But just to have everything and more, I thought would have been the absolute perfect thing. But apparently that wasn't to be. But yeah, the whole when they talked about they're going to kind of shoehorn it in between the practice facility and Stadium Drive, you're like, what? It's going to be like 6 feet wide, but like 30 feet tall or something. Like that's absurd.
30 feet. It'd be 300 feet.
Yeah, shoot. So yeah, I think it looks beautiful. And to your point, man, it's all you're going to see is the brick unless you're driving down Stadium Pensacola or you're at the breezeway on the third baseline at Hauser. For the challenges that we've heard that this school is undergoing when it comes to fundraising and just the real life situation that this program is not as established as all the other ones they're competing against. They don't have the large alumni bases. We don't particularly have high earning alumni, 35 and under. Like in your Texas A&M, you're going to daddy's freaking oil rig and, making boatloads of dollars and giving it back to your alma mater. So all that being said, the fact that they have, I don't know, was like $30-40 million already, and this is what they're going to do with it. Golly, man, hats off. I think it's
and also like they said in the release, they will renovate more a little bit. I don't know how much they're going to renovate it, but they're going to renovate it a little bit, and that will be a place for all the other student athletes. Because as it was, Florida State, and I'm not saying this with any ill intent, but Florida State the football team was having to share the weight room with other athletes. Now they have their own weight room. They have everything. And I'm not trying to say that the football team should be isolated from the rest of the campus, but they make all the money. So they get their own building, their own weight room, and then all the other like Ira said in the video we did, there are some teams that have to schedule workouts at like 5:30 or 6 in the morning because that's the only time they can get in that weight room because football takes precedent. And football takes priority. So if the football team wants to work out from 8 to 2, sorry, softball team, sorry, golfers, sorry, tennis players, you're going to have to go find somewhere else to do it. Now that's not a problem. Now it'll be much easier for the other students on campus as well.
I think in the release it says over $43 million has already been raised through the Unconquered campaign for the football facility. So I'm assuming, and Ira mentioned this in the video, there's pledges like, hey, the missus and I, me and the mister, we're good for 1.5 on this. And then there's also here is $1.5 million. So it sounds like they have like $43 million on hand to get this all underway and started.
Yeah, man.
So.
And we don't know when they're going to break ground. They did not announce that. Back to, I think it was Bimini Bound that asked that question about if it's being rushed. We don't know when they break ground. My thought would be they would break ground after the last home game of this year. They would rather get this started sooner rather than later, I would think, especially with the stadium thing coming up in a couple of years, if that comes to fruition. So I would think by middle of November, they break ground on that, and hopefully they could have it done. I don't know how long those things take. 6 weeks? Probably a little longer than that.
Weather permitting.
Weather permitting, 6 weeks. They'll have it done by Valentine's Day, but maybe they have it done by August. Maybe it takes 8 or 9 months to build something like that, and they could have it done for the start of the football season. In the meantime, I'm sure the football team would practice on the intramural fields.
Didn't Champions Club get built in an off season?
I feel like it. Yeah, I think so.
So obviously I don't think the scale of it is nearly as grandiose, but that was a pretty elaborate undertaking, and they knocked that out between two football. When did it debut? 15?
Oh, I think 16 is when it debuted, because I remember, when did they play Clemson where Dalvin?
2016.
Yeah. I just remember seeing the tweets, like, what, from former players being like, where are all the fans in the end zone? We can't even sell out a home game.
You're right.
I think that was the year, was 2016.
Yeah.
And you have to explain to them, no, they're there. They just can't be seen. They're inside.
Let's keep it with that. I'm going to hop ahead a couple questions to Kurt OFD78. Wake up! Gentlemen, I know the official announcement of the football-only facility came midweek, but are you aware if the staff or the team made recruits who attended the spring game aware of some or any of the details of the football-only facility to help boost enthusiasm and excitement with the recruits and for the direction of the program? Keep up the great work with the show. I'm sure I'll be listening Friday morning during my dog walk as usual.
There you go. Old dog walk.
That's another question I want to ask Norvell. Does he give guys binders or something when they're hosting recruits? I really feel we probably think there's too much direction given to players when they're hosting kids on these things. I don't think it's really all that rigid and regimented. I don't think they're like, hey guys, all right, so everybody get the PDF that Bruce sent you guys. Open that PDF. All right, everybody got it open. Okay, these have the renderings. Show it to the guy that I don't think it works that way. Plus, to Corey's point, we don't know when they're going to break ground, when it's going to be completed. So if you're a guy that's coming in 2022, who knows if it's going to be available for you to use your entire career. But I'm sure they've seen this though. I'll tell you what, I bet you Norvell is, made sure that these renderings have gone in a mailer, like a physical mailer copy to these kids' houses, and they're opening and they're seeing it. They're like, well, gosh darn, this is really impressive.
I wonder if, I was just thinking about that. It's a good question. I don't know that you tell those kids on Saturday if you happen to see them, and I don't know if they saw them or if they're even allowed to.
No, they don't. You're not allowed to.
Yeah, so I don't know if you want to tell those kids ahead of time because they're all going to be interviewed, and you don't want one of those guys. If you know for sure that you're going to release this on Wednesday, this information, the rendering, we're going to debut it on Wednesday. You don't want some 17-year-old from Boca breaking the news for you. So you probably don't tell the recruits when you talk to them or Zoom with them until Wednesday, and then Wednesday you just flood them with it. Look at this. Right. Look what this is going to be. We're going to have cryptotherapy. What's that, Coach? Don't worry about it.
Cryotherapy.
Cryo. It should be crypto. Cryptotherapy. That's where you
rub Bitcoin all over you or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, crypto payments for your cryotherapy. Or like you have a crypt. Maybe that's another thing they need in the bottom of the facility is it's a crypt.
Well, LSU's got sleep pods, I think. So not that big of a difference.
If any time a Florida State football legend passes away, they're buried underneath the football facility in your crypt, and you have your own crypt, right?
And they take out.
Who says no to that?
They take out a piece of sod under the sod cemetery if you played in that game, and put it in the casket.
And sprinkle in the casket. Yeah. Man, we're coming up with some good ideas today, my man.
On fire. Yeah, I don't think there was a probably concerted, organized effort to alert the kids about this, but I'm sure, at least on Saturday. But now that it's been made public,
now it is.
Sure
Absolutely.
Press, yeah,
absolutely. Just like they did with Apex.
Right, your brand
that
matters
is a full
here.
Court press.
Your
court press.
Your brand matters. Can you imagine Brady Clark being told, age 17, your brand matters here?
Yeah, man. I'd be like, yeah, it does, Brady. Get those Twitter followers up.
All right, let's go to Spear0805. How's it going, fellas? I'm Brennan from Pensacola, Florida. Just wanted to point out, not to throw shade, but how we can actually see development from guys and new guys coming onto the scene. McLean coming up big, Corbin developing. Compared to the Taggart era, we did not hear stuff like that. Yes, we were optimistic, but it all seemed like false hope. Just want to get your thoughts. I think Ira mentioned this before when I, kind of rebutted him on something about Norvell versus Taggart. I'm like, well, this is all kind of the same. And with Taggart, it's like we were hoping, that things are going to work out. But with Norvell, it seems like there's more tangible evidence. Now, I don't think I agreed with that necessarily. Because I do think...
Well, look, there's not. I would say there's not more tangible evidence. And the only tangible evidence that any of us care about is what happens on Saturdays in the fall, right?
Right.
And so far, there certainly isn't any tangible evidence on that front. I will go back to, you've talked... I wasn't at the event, and I'm not trying to, kick Willie while I'm not kicking anybody while he's down. He's got $15 million coming to him.
He's sitting on
to not
a pile
He's
of
fine.
cash. He's okay.
He is fine. He is one at life. So I don't care to I don't care if I'm throwing a little shade his way. But you were at that Friday Night Lights event where it apparently
Saturday
just
Night
wasn't
Lights.
Saturday Night Lights. It just was Saturday Night Live, Saturday Night Lights, whatever it's called, where it just wasn't coordinated well at all. At all.
To say, put it
And
mildly.
the stories we heard, not just from some of the stuff at practice, but a lot of the issues that I think the administration had, especially when it was the deal was done with Willie, was the recruiting, the lack of organization when it came to recruiting, and they were not good at recruiting, which was that was the selling point, which is just odd because he had been. I mean, he was knocking it out at Oregon for that 1 year. And he did pretty well at Florida State for that 1 year. But then could he sustain it? And it didn't look like he could. Once the new car smell went away, it didn't look like he could actually sustain it with tangible proof that his program would get better. But also the organization skills of his staff weren't great. And then you talk, when we were talking to Norvell before the pandemic, he's going to have this, and they just released these, I guess, 7, 8, 9 dates in June where they're going to have the Norvell camps. One's for quarterback, one's for kickers, one's for QBs, one's for big man camp where they're going to be padded up and all that. And, he was talking about this last one he had at Memphis where he had an app for the recruiting camp.
Right, yeah.
Like he had the staff develop an app that went on every camper's phone that had a schedule, had where you're supposed to be each day. And that's like, does that win you any games? I don't know. But that's next level stuff when it comes to recruiting. And we didn't get to see that at all last year because nobody got to do anything. And so I am excited to see what this offseason looks like now that the dead period will be lifted, I guess June 1st or June 10th or whatever, the dead period gets lifted and they can start hosting recruits, hosting camps, and talking to recruits again. I want to see what that looks like. And I do think that will pay off in a better program in the future. But when you're talking about tangible evidence, yeah, some guys look better than they did last year. But I don't know how much that's going to sell a fan base until we see what it looks like on an actual Saturday.
If I reread it without what he put in the parenthetical note, I just wanted to point out, but how we can actually see development from guys and new guys coming onto the scene like Malik McClain and Ja'Shawn Corbin compared to the Taggart era. We did not hear stuff like that. I mean, yeah, McClain, we'll see. McClain, I don't know how much of McClain is by necessity. It's the fact that they don't have a lot of established quality wide receivers that's making Malik McClain look so good. So that needs to kind of be factored into here. But then I guess you could say, well, that's Willie's fault for not recruiting well. Maybe.
Well, and also, did McClain really develop a lot, or did he have a good day?
Right.
Let's slow down on saying that somebody really developed. Like Corbin, I thought got better at the end of last season. I thought Corbin just looked like Corbin. That's not a negative. He was a pretty good running back at the end of last year when he was healthy. I'm very, very interested in the development of the quarterbacks and the defense as a whole. And they did look better. You can't watch what they did in that spring game and say the quarterback position hasn't improved. Now they got an injection of Milton. But still, I think that's what I want to look for moving forward. The defense seemed to get a lot better, or more competent. It just looked competent. And that's an improvement. That's a step in the right direction. They gave up 35 points to Duke to end the season. Duke got shut out by Miami the week before and had like 100 yards of offense or some nonsense. And they put up 35 on you. So there's a lot of room to grow there. I just don't think we can answer that question. We won't be able to say how you're seeing kids or a team develop until we're, the middle of October of next year. I think you can make a real judgment on how much better or worse or static the program is from this year and last year.
I mean, we're like nearly at the hour mark, and I don't want to bring this up right now because we still have we have 2 more questions to get to. But I do find it kind of curious. I shouldn't say I find it curious, but it's interesting, or I don't know the proper adjective. But, man, going into 2019, at least I felt like Willie Taggart was dead man walking. I know a lot of people are like, there's no way they're going to fire him after 2 years. I'm like, man, the consecutive winning season streak gone, bowl streak gone. You just got stomped by Clemson and Florida. How does, we really think like 7 wins is going to save this guy's job? Like, we're all going to feel better about making it to a bowl this year? And then sure enough, he didn't survive that season. And like, there was like, we felt good about Kendall. It was like, all right, so Kendall's going to take over the offense, so less Willie, that's what we feel good about. And he won 5 games, which they played more games. It's just crazy to me about how optimistic everybody is with Mike Norvell right now, considering what he did his first year. Like, he laid an egg too, but for some reason, there's this like,
well, again,
we're in the right direction right now. Maybe
don't you think that has to do with
the recruiting? I don't know.
The recruiting and the transfer portal?
Transfer portal is probably, that's probably the right way. I mean, recruiting to
and
me
again,
still
I
is
do think that
6.5.
you can't. I don't think you can short sell or overstate having to coach your first year in a pandemic.
No,
man.
no. You're right, but at the same time, though,
so I think he gets a pass more than anything. I think a lot of fans, he doesn't get a pass, but a lot of fans do treat last year as year 0. Like, he didn't get to really be the Florida State coach. He had 3 spring practices in 0 recruiting. 0. So now he's on the clock, right? Now, to me, the clock has started. And this was a gap year because of everything, the roster he took over, the pandemic, everything in between. Like that to me felt like a gap year. Now we can really start judging with the benefit of a little bit of hindsight, because we do have something to compare it to a little bit with what happened last year. So, and I also think the North Carolina game, I know it was followed up by some debacles.
Yeah.
But the North Carolina game at least gave you a glimpse
I forget
of,
about that.
they beat a team they shouldn't have beaten. They outplayed a team that was better than them. That hadn't happened at Florida State in decades, it seemed like. So I think that helped too.
You're right. Way to point it out. Good job. Glad you're here. Corey.
I do what I can.
Keep it on track. All right. Here we go. Second to last question. Last question. We'll get to life advice with Primetime. This is a fun one, Corey. Diehard Nole in Beijing. Let me see the stats on this person. Their second ever post. They joined Christmas Eve last year. Here we go.
All right. That's interesting.
Wake up! First off, let me say how much I love the show. Living here in Beijing, it's harder to stay connected to FSU sports, but you guys keep me updated. I got a membership with y'all after the Notre Dame game this last season, standing in line to enter quarantine for 2 weeks. And I'm glad I did. Look at that.
Man, how about that?
Oh, golly. So we
that Notre Dame game got him fired up, man. Getting to see Jordan Travis do what he did. They competed a little bit there at the end, I think, and then they beat North Carolina the next week. So that was a pretty good 2-week stretch.
Y'all have been talking. I love how he's saying y'all and he's in Beijing. Keep it real, man. Don't lose your roots. Y'all have been talking about the quarterbacks and defense a lot lately, so I'll ask a different question. Thank God. Coaches often talk about finding players that mentally and physically fit their system. At this stage in the program, which is more important? Landing big-time blue-chip 5-stars or developing 3- and 4-star players to play at a high level? I thought Dabo did that for years successfully at Clemson before they broke through and Jimbo was on the opposite side of it. Top-ranked recruiting classes that underperformed. I remember reading in 2017 and 18 in terms of star power, we had teams in the top 5 in talent range, but we were not even ranked as a team. That's true. Yeah, like Florida State was like top 5 in terms of composite rankings from, like 14 to 17, and didn't have a lot to show for it. So I don't know, but did he? Talks about finding fit at this stage? Is it more important to land big time blue chippers or develop? I'll still take blue chippers, man. I'll always take the odds on that, man. It's like taking chalk. It's like, do you take a 1 seed to win, or will you take the field in the NCAA tournament? I'll probably still take a 1 seed. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, look, you still need NFL talent for Florida State to get where everybody wants Florida State to get to. Well, everybody that either covers them or cheers for them. You need that talent, man. You need the 5-star talent. I think when I was talking about that, in the last, basically talking about the recruiting class he landed, number one, again, he had to recruit virtually the whole time. Where Florida State is right now, he has to make do with 3-star kids. He just has to. It seems like that's starting to tick up, though, right? Like there's more 4- and 5-star guys that seem to be interested in Florida State. One that's actually coming to Florida State. That's a big deal. To answer to couch completely, it really takes both. But yeah, I think let me put it this way: for this team to be any good, 2021 and 2022, for these teams to be good, it's gonna be development of 3-star players, right? because there aren't a ton of 5-star dudes on this roster. So it's going to have to develop got diamonds in the rough. And then when you do that and you win 7 or 8 games with those guys, well, that's when you start hauling in the big fish. You can't win championships with a 3-star roster. You can win games. You can maybe even make it to some pretty nice bowls, but you can't win championships with a 5-star roster. But then the question is, can you get a 5-star roster without winning some games with some 3-stars? And I think right now that's the boat Florida State is in. They got to win some games with some guys that aren't NFL caliber, and then hope you win enough games that you start attracting NFL caliber talent.
Yeah, I mean, the first class he had where he only had 2.5 weeks or whatever to commit, Sidney Williams is a guy they continue to talk about in pretty glowing terms. He was a 3-star. Robert Scott is your starting right tackle probably for the next 3 years. He was a 3-star. Kentron Portier's a 3-star. A lot of these guys, Thomas Schrader, who's going to be part of this offensive line when he's healthy, is a 3-star. Now, there's a lot of 3-stars. I'm not saying that, again, it's early, but it's kind of crazy how, if we're going to talk about him developing 3- and 4-star guys, like he's not getting 5 years to figure this out. He's not getting 6 years to figure this out. So, like, these guys that he had 3 weeks to recruit are going to form the foundation for which he's going to be judged to keep his job or not, which is scary and crazy to think about. But again, man, if guys like Robert Scott pan out, if Thomas Schrader pans out, if I think Ren was a 3-star guy. I mean, Lundy's a 3-star guy. Sidney Williams 3-star guy. Darren Williams a 3-star guy. Toafili's 4. But like if enough of those guys pan out, to Corey's point, to where like you win 9 games and you get to play in the Citrus Bowl in 2 years, then like you've established a good foundation. You'll start getting those blue chip guys, and you stay true to your roots and evaluate guys that are undervalued that you think you can develop, and you'll have the time to do it, and you'll have the patience with the fan base to get those guys up to speed. But yeah, we'll have to see how quickly guys like Robert Scott make a jump in year 2 or year 1.5, I guess, because last year, I'm not going to say year 0 for those guys, because those guys actually played games. They took snaps. Right. It was real.
Right.
So we got to hope. We sure got to hope. But yeah, I mean, Dabo did, right? There's a lot of, there's the Isaiah Simmons guy, right? Is that his name? He was like he's from Kansas. Pull the guy from Kansas.
I think he was a pretty big deal from Kansas, but he was from Kansas. And another guy they got, one of the defensive linemen that was great, was from like Connecticut or Delaware, Rhode Island or someplace.
Yeah. So yeah, and Jimbo did that. Jimbo found Bjorn Warner. Sorry,
Bjorn. Yeah.
Sorry, Bjorn. I apologize, man. Man, even looking at their class from 2020, Clemson, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, and one of them is Venables though. 5, 6, 7. They had 7 3-stars. So hopefully those ones don't work out, and then that'll be
right. They don't develop them at all.
Yeah, let's hope that's how it works out. All right, last one. A little bit of life advice. Primetime 92. Hey, guys, I appreciate you fellas doing all this content. My question for today, which really is for the week. Many people have had deeply difficult or stressful experiences, but learned valuable lessons from them. Is that true for you? What did you learn? Man, I've luckily had a pretty, I don't want to say easy, but I was talking about one of my friends with this, about I really haven't had to deal with a lot of grief in my life. My parents are still here. I did lose my grandfather who helped raise me a few years back. That sucked. My grandmother's still going, and my brother's still alive. I haven't had I'm afraid when that check comes and I have to meet that reality, when I lose one of my family members, immediate family members. That's going to be a deeply difficult, stressful experience that I'll probably learn valuable lessons from, but I don't want to learn those lessons. I don't want to have to face that down. Financially, I've been all right. Maybe it comes back to what I said in the beginning of the show. Maybe when you're purchasing a house, have a little bit of a better plan. Give yourself more of a runway. That's a valuable lesson. But it's not deeply difficult. I've had anxiety. I haven't been able to sleep well, but it's not when I think of like difficult, stressful, I think of like death or loss of your job. Things like that. I don't know, Corey. You have a good personality and good pep to you. I feel like that means you probably haven't had to overcome a lot of major adversity.
No, I never lived with my parents were divorced by the time I was old enough to understand what that meant. So I never lived with my dad. So but I still had a great relationship with him, and my parents got along. That taught me a lot, especially now that I'm a divorced dad, to get along with Brady's mom. And I don't really know how to answer that. I haven't overcome anything incredibly adverse. I've just been pretty privileged. Like, I was able to take a job in Thomasville, Georgia, making $310 a week right out of college to be a sports writer, because I knew that if things failed or went belly up or I couldn't live off that, which I couldn't, I was going to have some help from the old man. And a lot of people aren't in that position. So I was incredibly lucky and fortunate there that I had a backstop. I will say probably the toughest thing, other than my dad passing away, but that's everybody's parents, God willing, are going to die before you do.
He was young, though.
I'm saying, but everybody goes through that. Everybody will go through that, probably.
Yeah, but did you learn a valuable lesson from it, though? I mean, that's a thing.
No, I don't think so. What I was going to say was I did learn, I don't know if I learned a valuable lesson, but having to tell Brady when he was 7 years old maybe, that his parents were getting a divorce, sitting him down and telling him that, was really probably the hardest thing I've ever had to sit through. It was really, really tough. And he handled it like a champ. Really proud of him for doing that. I don't know what I learned from it other than it was really hard to do, and I wish I hadn't had to do it.
Were you honest about everything? Did you learn maybe that honesty was good, or did you learn?
No, just like we had to tell him that that we were splitting up, and I was going to be living in a different house, and all this and all that, and but it's worked out, I guess, as well as it could, but that was tough. That was tough to get to a point where that's the best thing to do. To break the best thing for my life and for Shanna's life was to break the heart of a 7-year-old. That wasn't great, but he rebounded. Brady should be answering this question. We'll get Brady on the next one, and he can answer what he learned from that.
Oh man, yeah, there might be like a thing or two, but nothing I'd want to actually air out on the pod about like life being ultra difficult, stressful experiences. What I've learned lately, I shouldn't say learned, but I've seen that there's been so many things that have like made me want to snap and just get all upset, and I've shut up and not say anything about it, and it's actually worked out. So I've kind of learned to shut up and bite my tongue on stuff and seen it work out. I did kind of get fired from my first big boy job. I don't know what I learned about that. I look back on it, I'm like, man, that was crazy that I was that big of a jerk at that job, and I stayed around that long. But I'm still kind of a jerk, so what can I say that I've changed? Prime time, if anything comes to mind, I'm sure you'll ask us another life advice question. Maybe I'll double back to it, but nothing all that salacious, nothing all that enlightening. I apologize. He's young. He's looking for advice. Just hang out with good people.
Sorry, buddy. Hang on.
Just hang around with cool people. You are the average of 5 people you hang out with. So, surround yourself with good people, and you can pretty much overcome a lot of things, even if you don't have the greatest support system. That's all I got. Core's my support system. Warchant.com is the real support system for all of us Florida State fans. Talk shop. It's great. Go check them out. Warchant 30 is the promo code. And I guess be on the lookout for potentially Irish O'Fell and Corey talking with Devin Travis, maybe?
That's the hope, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have it up on the website. We'll be back with another program for you folks on Monday. We're probably back to 3 days a week now, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So, yeah, we'll make them better, hopefully. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.